This is a fusion coil, and it's beautiful. It's not even like fusion coils are special or anything. They're just the Halo equivalent of an exploding barrel. You know the kind. It's the kind that bad guys like to hang out around or store in warehouses. What makes fusion coils so fascinating, at least to me, is that they go the extra mile to be a bit more than something so generic. They come in all sorts of shapes and sizes depending on the faction, and that's before you even get into how many different designs Halo has introduced over the years, which raises an important question. Which Halo game has my favorite fusion coil? Technically, there's power cores, plasma batteries, and a bunch of other names and forms, but for the sake of simplicity, I'm just going to treat every small-ish environmental explosive as a fusion coil. It's just so we can keep the video nice and tidy, you know? Also, rule number 2 from that one-off weapons video applies here. If I don't mention a fusion coil, it's not because I forgot it. I don't forget things. I never forget things. Let's start with Halo CE, which has no fusion coils. None. This game has a lot of ladders. I mean, I should know, I counted all of them. But not a single fusion coil. Maybe the ladders ate them all. Or perhaps more realistically, the world just wasn't ready yet. And that brings us to Halo 2 in 2004, which finally introduced the world to Halo's fusion coils. The UNSC fusion coil is a simple box shape, about waist high, with a glowing, grating-like pattern, with those glowing panels doing most of the heavy visual lifting, you know, drawing the eyes, letting you know it's something you could shoot to blow up. Bungie, on their website, described UNSC fusion coils as the safest and most intelligent way to transport and store highly explosive compressed plasma energy, while also claiming they're filled with plutonium and nitroglycerin, which sounds delicious. Beyond that vague description, we still don't really know how fusion coils are made. Maybe the setting of Zanzibar, where most of them can be found in multiplayer, is the answer. Wind Station 7 is an old wind power facility that, despite not being officially operational for probably decades, is absolutely packed with these things. So could places like Wind Station 7 be where energy is converted into yummy plutonium and nitroglycerin, then stuffed into these little boxes and shipped God knows where? But what about the aliens? How do they handle their power storage needs? They use these training potty-shaped things called plasma batteries. You can find them in both campaign and multiplayer, and despite their strange appearance, yes, they do explode, and they explode quite violently. You'd be shocked at how few people actually realize these things are explosive, because it doesn't exactly read as an environmental explosive. Maybe that's their charm, though. And then there are the ancient Forerunners, the creators of the Halo rings, a super advanced, extinct civilization who had their own energy storage devices in the form of power cores. Power cores are these tall, boxy objects with a sort of hourglass shape and a distinct glowing light in the center that always reminded me of the kind of lights you'd find in public pools. You know the ones I'm talking about. I love these things. It's a simple design, but it's incredibly striking, with a real sense of presence. You could easily draw one from memory. Watch, I'll show you. There's also these gas canisters that are found in the campaign in the Forerunner gas mines of Threshold. They start life as these sad, empty containers, slowly riding along energy conveyor belts before being filled with a delicious blue glowing gas and carried and shuffled around the facility by sentinels. Out of all 4 of these, my favorite is probably the Halo 2 power core. Like, as much as I love the UNSC fusion coil, the gas canister, and the alien toddler potty thing, the power core is something I genuinely wish I had as like a little model or a desk buddy. Like, I want a tiny version of this on my desk, you know? Before we move on though, I want to draw your attention to the Halo 2 multiplayer map, Containment. And yeah, I know, I'm already kind of stretching the definition of fusion coil, but this map features an exclusive Forerunner explosive, the Energy Core. Energy cores are basically Forerunner anti-tank hedgehog mines with a sharp pyramid-like shape that channels energy from each corner into the clear center. What's really interesting about them is that during development, they were apparently not metallic at all. They were vaguely described as boo bags, biological physics objects that bounced around the map and destroyed stuff. Unsurprisingly, they were eventually made static, and then they were later reworked into Forerunner vehicle mines. The only description we have is from Paul Russell, the man responsible for the Forerunner design language at Bungie, and he described them as bouncing testicles of death, before adding, "I hate video games." When we move on to Halo 3, the increased horsepower of the Xbox 360 let Bungie pack in far more detail than what was possible on the original Xbox. Funnily enough, Bungie chose to demonstrate this with the UNSC Fusion Coil, revealing its updated design prior to release on their website. And wow, what an update this was! Halo 3's Fusion Coil is a strong iteration on the Fusion Coil from Halo 2. It's essentially a tube of dangerous glowing yellow energy wrapped in a boxy, cage-like frame. The frame is plastered with warning stickers and decals, all desperately trying to dissuade any curious Conrads from trying to partake of the forbidden juice inside. They constantly emit this weirdly pleasant hum, and when disturbed, they glow red before violently exploding. Since 2007, it's essentially remained the standard look for the UNSC Fusion Coil, and for good reason. This is a fantastic design, and honestly, just like the Halo 2 Power Core, I wouldn't mind having a model one on my desk. Speaking of the Power Core, how did that turn out? So the silhouette of the Forerunner Power Core in Halo 3 stayed mostly unchanged, but the detailing became noticeably more alien. The simple pool light in the center was replaced with a more complex, blue glowing center. Something just, a bit less earthly, maybe? Extra little techie lights were added, and the metal was darkened and worn down to give the power core a stronger sense of age. What's kinda neat is that you can occasionally find them mounted directly into the walls of certain Forerunner installations. In Halo 2, we never quite knew why these insanely dangerous OSHA violations were just hanging out in Forerunner places, but now, we know. Could you imagine if you had to strap a bomb to the side of your house just to turn the lights on? Now what about the Covenant Plasma Battery? The plasma battery of Halo 3 is a circular platform with a vertical tube in the center that contains the Covenant plasma. 3 glowing petal-like energy shield panels protect the tube of plasma, given shape by these wavy metallic frames that weave around the tube, and give the plasma battery its structure and silhouette. It sticks out a lot more in the environment, with the big shields drawing the eyes a bit more, communicating that this might be something that goes boom. And man, it goes boom, with a really satisfying sound that mixes glass shattering, metal screeching. Halo 3 also introduces a new UNSC explosive canister, the propane tank. It's a tall red cylinder with a little digital display for reading something? Probably very scientific, I'd imagine. And honestly, this thing rules. It's this wonderfully mundane real-world object that's just been over-engineered to make it feel sci-fi-y. Like, imagine if you had a water bottle with a digital display on the side. Does this propane tank's display need to charge? Does it take batteries? Oh, and when shot, this thing flies around in Looney Tunes fashion. For Reach, the designs introduced in Halo 3 aren't really changed. They're just enhanced. The UNSC Fusion Coil is a top-to-bottom upgrade in texture quality, material work, and with the warning stickers finally being a readable resolution. The biggest change is the energy inside, which was shifted from that dangerous yellow to a more muted, darker green color. This was probably done to make it look a bit less cartoony and better fit the more gritty, grounded art direction of Halo Reach. Don't get me wrong though, the explosion effects got a lot of love. There's more definition, more smoke, and an almost Hollywood pyrotechnics-like presentation, with a slower, more persistent fireball and plenty of sparks and debris. The Covenant Plasma Battery also benefits from the added detail in Halo Reach, with improved textures, deeper materials, and fun little callbacks, like those red symbols that the Covenant used to paint on all their stuff back in Halo 1. Explosion effects are once again upgraded from Halo 3 with more debris, sparks, and this brilliant white and blue electrical fireball. Sadly, the Forerunner power core doesn't return in Halo Reach, which I guess makes sense, Reach is a game about the planet Reach, but it's still tragic. I mean, it's not like the game features a Forge canvas set on a famous Forerunner installation or anything, right? Thankfully, the propane tank makes a comeback, this time though with a much more modern design. And yes, for a brick, it still flies really good. For Halo 4, the UNSC Fusion Coil from Reach was reused. There really wasn't much room to push the design further, at least on the aging Xbox 360 anyway, and the Reach model already did a great job of selling high detail. What did change were the textures. The metal takes on a lighter coloration, most of the warning decals are stripped away, and the animated green liquid inside is replaced with a static blue grid-like texture. Halo 4 was already pushing the Xbox 360 pretty hard, so removing small animated elements from various objects such as the glowing fuel on the Fusion Coil and relocating those small performance gains elsewhere was probably the logic behind this. That said, I do wonder if it might actually be bug related, since there's also a few clearly broken textures on the Fusion Coil. Right there, and right there. Explosion effects were also toned down quite a bit from Halo Reach, and this was probably also for performance optimization reasons. Tragically, the propane tank did not return from Halo Reach, but what we did get was another interesting peek into Halo's environmental explosives. A simple gas canister, and it's beautiful. Okay, look, it looks exactly like an explosive prop designed for a late-gen Xbox 360 game, but if you ignore the texture compression and stripped back fidelity, this feels like something you could find at a Home Depot. Look, it's got little wheels. It's got a tiny little gas pump. This prop shows up a few times in the campaign, like when you're stomping around in a giant metal gear, blowing stuff up, so I wouldn't blame you if you missed it, but I've always liked this prop. Since there was no Reach-era model, Halo 4 introduced an entirely new Forerunner power core design to match the new Promethean enemy faction. It drops the old hourglass silhouette and instead adopts a more barrel-like form closer to the traditional Fusion Coil shape. Multiple layers of metallic plating wrap around the device, with small viewports that let you see the delicious, delicious liquid inside. But with the next game, more power, more graphics. It's Halo 2 Anniversary. Halo 2 Anniversary multiplayer was built in a slightly tweaked version of the Halo 4 game engine, this time with support for things like PBR materials. And honestly, it's a pretty interesting peek at how far Halo 4 could have been pushed if it was an Xbox One title instead of a 360 one. The UNSC Fusion Coil here is just the Halo 4 asset. It has slightly more realistic materials thanks to PBR, but the textures are exactly the same, the geometry is exactly the same, and yes, even the bugged textures from Halo 4 are still here. What is new though, is the explosion effect, which is very nice. Interestingly, this game also introduces a special UNSC EMP coil. Why does it cause electrical explosions? Only the UNSC's top scientists know. And they won't tell us, because it's very secret and very scientific. The Forerunner power core, however, is completely new. Rather than reusing the Halo 4 model, concept artist Jason Bourne, yes, that's really his name, designed something that preserves the original hourglass silhouette while updating it with the Promethean design language. The result is a really different but fantastic looking redesign. I love how the energy in the center of the core sheds these energy particles that sort of look like glass shards. It gives the whole power core this mystic quality, like it's containing some kind of arcane power. And of course, our old friend the gas canister returns from Halo 4, now sporting proper PBR materials and slightly, and I do mean slightly, higher resolution textures. It's still great. On the campaign side of Halo 2 Anniversary, the Covenant Plasma Battery gets a genuinely beautiful looking visual upgrade here, finally bringing the alien training potty into the world of high definition. That said, it is noticeably brighter and cleaner looking than the original. Maybe it hasn't been used much yet by the grunts. The gas canisters from Threshold also receive more detailed models, with brighter metal and more saturated blue gas for the energy inside. For the Forerunner power core, the game actually reuses the Promethean power core design from Halo 4 with just the orange bits recolored to blue. It's a little disappointing that the multiplayer version wasn't used here instead, but this was likely a production timing issue. Next up is Halo 5, and if you like Fusion Coils, oh, this game has them in spades. Let's start with the UNSC Fusion Coil. It gets a full top-to-bottom redesign that finally gives us a look at what a UNSC Fusion Coil designed for deep sea and deep space use might actually look like. The glass protecting the core has hard water stains all over it, and the design leans heavily into smooth curves and bold artificial colors, moving away from that more blocky, industrial look that the older games had. You can almost picture stacks of these things inside a submarine or tucked away in the back of a space station somewhere, you know? According to the concept art, the design was even meant to make them easier for UNSC personnel to store and handle. Halo 5 also introduces much larger variants, and if you're already forgetting the names, don't worry, this is going to make that problem a lot worse. The bigger UNSC unit is called the UNSC Power Core. It's a fairly simple cylindrical design with a big glowing, "Hey, I explode if you shoot me" light on it. Our friend the gas canister makes a heroic return as well. Though by this point it's pretty obvious this thing is an over-optimized model from a late Xbox 360 game ported into an Xbox One game. Like, whew, it's looking rough. Still love it though. And finally, Halo 5 is the first Halo game in the series to include a completely straightforward video game red exploding barrel. It's got handles on the top and bottom, which I assume makes factory transport nice and easy, and the Forge mode even includes a prop that's a refueling pump for these things. You know, if you're interested in learning a bit more about the deep, deep lore of the Halo exploding objects cinematic universe. On the Covenant side of things, the plasma battery gets a name change. This is now, officially, the Covenant Fusion Coil. Design-wise, it's a really interesting blend of insectoid and crustacean cues. There's smooth curves and layered purple plating that gives it this sort of protective organic bug shell look, while the internals have this strange soft squishy core that's hooked up to alien wires. It gives it this organic quality, like you're staring at the meat of a clam that's been rigged up to a battery. It's a genuinely alien redesign for the thing, and at the time, the first truly new take on the Covenant Fusion Coil since, God, 2007. So 8 years. Sadly, the explosion effects had to take a bit of a hit, likely for optimization reasons. I see that. That's just a 2D GIF. You can't fool me. Now, this absolute unit is the Covenant fuel tank. It's huge, much taller than the player, practically begging to be shot and destroyed. The Covenant fuel cell is its much smaller cousin, a more compact storage device with a much smaller explosion by comparison. I really like the piping on this one. It feels almost like crab legs curled in around the center. On the Promethean side of things, since the term power core got reassigned to that UNSC thing, what we're left with here is the Promethean Fusion Coil. And it's a really interesting design in that it's barely a design at all. It's essentially a beam of energy transferred between two floating Forerunner disks, with 4 floating rings giving the beam structure. What's especially neat is the shell these fusion coils are meant to slot into. Without a fusion coil attached, the shell is inert and mostly motionless, but once a coil is inside, these things spring to life. Metallic pieces begin rotating around the fusion coil, and the thing hums very loudly with energy. Also, if you look at the complete setup of the fusion coil with its shell from above, it kind of looks like a monitor. Now, let me show you my favorite prop in the entire game. This is the Promethean Fusion Barrel, and it looks like a little guy. You see it too, right? Like some kind of goblin, or like a shark man, with a big mischievous grin, some little teeth. It even has little flippers. These Promethean sharkmen / barrels come in both red and blue, and when they explode, they produce a really interesting energy effect. Instead of traditional particles, the explosion has this abstract dot grid pattern, Probably a bit of clever art direction to achieve a cheaper graphical effect for performance reasons. It's almost like an in-universe, low-resolution explosion. You know, people don't talk about the fusion barrels. I've tried searching Halopedia, YouTube, forums, and discussion threads, and nothing. I think this might honestly be the first YouTube video to give them a spotlight. I like these things. I don't know why they look like silly little guys, but if they didn't, I probably wouldn't have felt so drawn to them. So yeah, I also want a model of this on my desk. It was a long 6 years between Halo 5 and Halo Infinite, but when Halo Infinite finally arrived, it absolutely did not disappoint when it came to fusion coils. What's interesting about fusion coils in Infinite is how central they actually are to the gameplay loop, far more than any Halo game before. The Banished control Zeta Halo, siphoning its resources and mysterious energies and storing them in coils for different purposes. Visually, these coils take on a very classic Halo look. Like, if you loved the design language of Halo 2, Infinite's coils are going to feel immediately familiar. And best of all, for the first time ever, you can actually pick them up and throw them. The Banished Blast Coil is a boxy fusion coil that feels like the return of an old friend. It's not UNSC themed this time around, it's Banished, it's made by alien space monkeys, but it's very clearly meant to evoke nostalgic memories of blowing up UNSC fusion coils on Zanzibar. Multiple windows and viewports reveal an interior full of explosive juice. The coil genuinely glows, casting light on its surroundings and just drawing attention from everybody in the match, acting like a beacon that practically begs to be shot. What's especially fun is that the blast coil can explode in a bunch of different ways. Sometimes it just bursts, sometimes the bottom blows out and it just shoots across the room before detonating. Other times it turns into a spinning, fiery tornado of death, just spraying flames everywhere. It's chaotic, unpredictable, and just really fun. There's of course a larger, more destructive variant that can usually be seen in Banished camps, surrounded by the smaller coils, with only a simple Banished shield layer protecting the explosive contents within. The Shock Coil is another Banished variant, this time built to contain powerful electrical energy. The Brute homeworld is, or I guess I should say was, rich in magnetic ores, so the Brutes are sort of experts on electrical forms of energy. They use these coils to store massive amounts of electricity, powering weapons like the shock rifle and disruptor, and when these coils detonate, they don't just explode, they spray EMP-style electrical damage everywhere, frying anything nearby and disabling vehicles and equipment. The Banished Plasma Coil is how they store and transport, well, plasma, which Halo Infinite depicts as a liquid like juice. Inside the coil, the plasma is searing hot and bright blue, and when detonated, it splashes everywhere and leaves behind a burning pool that lingers and denies the area for a short time. It's like a lava water balloon. And finally, there's the Hard Light Coil, which is interestingly not Banished made. This one is actually Forerunner. Angry hard light energy swirls about inside, glowing with violets, pinks, and yellows. It's almost like a little nebula trapped in a container. I could be overthinking things, but the Hard Light Coil looks to me at least like a very Halo 2-ified version of the design from Halo 5. It's kind of the same basic idea, you know, a top and a bottom, a beam of energy in the middle, and one or more rings that give the beam structure, only in this case it's boxy shaped. Like, does anyone else see that? I also noticed something else with the larger variant. The metal casings use that familiar Forerunner alloy pattern you can see across their structures since, you know, it's Forerunner made, it's Forerunner metal. But the shield that contains the Hard Light uses a Banished shield pattern for some reason. Is this an artistic oversight? Or maybe it's evidence that the Banished are integrating their tech with Forerunner stuff. It probably means nothing. But I like to overthink sometimes. I mean, how do you think that latter video happened? When detonated, the Hard Light is released and ricochets violently around the environment, tearing through enemies and objects before finally dissipating. These are easily some of the most dangerous coils in Halo Infinite, simply because of how chaotic they become when they explode. And that is every fusion coil in Halo. What's funny is, when I started this video, I thought that it would be a total cakewalk. I wasn't prepared for the rabbit hole that fusion coils would drag me down, or the emotional journey I'd end up going on. I already really like Halo's Fusion Coils quite a bit, but making this video gave me a genuine appreciation for every single version of them across this big dumb sci-fi series we call home. So, which Fusion Coil is my favorite? First, I'm going to pick one from each game, and then I'm going to take all of those and throw them into a big Fusion Coil battle royale and figure it out, once and for all. Which one is my all-time favorite? From Halo 2, I gotta go with the Forerunner one. Like, I got to, man. The color and texture of the metal, the nice boxy shape, the little pipe ribbing, and the pool light in the center almost makes it feel like a vintage heater that my grandpa would have gotten out of storage during cold winter nights when I was a kid. It's got a cozy vibe to it that's hard to articulate. For Halo 3, it's gotta be the UNSC one. I mean, this is the Halo Fusion Coil, you know? Hell, it even shows up in the Halo show, like, for a second. This design, the yellow, it was all just so perfect. For Reach, it's really down to just two designs, and I gotta go with the Covenant one. I love this design a lot, and despite Halo 3 introducing the design, Halo Reach is the one that actually gave it the details it needed to feel more fleshed out and high resolution. I really hope we get to see an even higher quality version of this design in a future Halo project. For Halo 4, oh baby, it's the red gas can. Okay, no, I gotta be real. I'm gonna go with the Promethean coil just because it was a completely original model, while the UNSC Fusion Coil was just the Reach model with the textures all buggy. For Halo 2 Anniversary Multiplayer, I'm going with the Forerunner one because it goes the extra mile of preserving the original Halo 2 hourglass shape while giving it the Promethean design language that matches the rest of the Forerunner stuff in that game. For Halo 5, oh come on, you knew already it was gonna be those little shark guys. The fusion barrel is perfect. Why does it look like a sneaky little shark dude? I don't know, but I wouldn't be talking about it if it wasn't. It's perfect. For Halo Infinite, this one was actually tough. The specific color of yellow for the blast coil here is hitting all the right boxes for me. But the hard light coil is just so pretty, man. It's like a cosmic gas event trapped inside a little box, like a deep space storm inside some Tupperware. I think I'm gonna settle on the blast coil. Now, which one is my favorite fusion coil of all time? I don't want to answer this. It's like deciding which child is my favorite. Like, they're all perfect. I want all of them as models on my desk. Like, do I have to answer I mean, yeah, of course I do, because I'd lose credibility if I if I backed out. Hey, what's that behind you right now? You should turn your head around and look.